Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the morning up to the first break in jury selection today in the Trump trial. In general, we'll be looking to do one tape summarizing what happens in the day's events. Otherwise we would, have to become a permanent 24/7 cable channel, just reporting everything in real time. But there have been a few seismic, or I think you could say portentous events that, portend trouble on the horizon that I thought it's worth detailing today. And then we'll be back talking about the case overall. All right. First, and maybe foremost, they're down a juror. And that's because a woman who had been selected to serve called up last night, developed second thoughts and real cold feet about it, and came in. She posed it in terms of whether she could really be fair, but it was evident that she was freaked out because a lot of people knew who she was and that she was serving. And now, just note that kind of problem could be a problem generally, but in this case, of course, it's worrisome in particular because the Trump partisans could actually endanger jurors whose identities are known, and that's a whole sort of overlay of what's going on here that's got the flavor of a mob trial. But so the judge dismissed her, but it's a indication of a whole new sort of set of problems that are opening up in terms of the jury. The judge actually, part of this is that the court and the DA had agreed that the names and addresses could be disclosed. But more than that, in the questioning in court, you get where people work. Sometimes those are pretty small places. You get what people look like as described by the media. You get, in other words, a sort of jigsaw puzzle of information that people could use to put together the identities of the jury and destroy the anonymity that they're supposed to have, which is this special problem because it's, the Trump trial in particular. So the judge told the media, even though the employment is part of the questioning, they cannot report it out. That's an order. It's a binding order. The judge can do that, but will it actually be effective? I mean, it's just a general or actually a particular symptom of a really bigger problem. And, comparisons to the OJ case and other notorious trials are inevitable because of this possibility of sort of chaos, and it's now sort of spread directly to jury selection, but also it's just a kind of portent of the many possible challenges that Merchan is going to have on his hands. And they're compounded, of course, because Trump wants to make trouble. Trouble usually serves his interests. As I said this morning on TV, he was the chaos president and he's now the chaos defendant. And, if there's a mistrial or there's a general perception that the trial is a mess, that just serves his purposes and it undermines the really important principle or, public need for confidence in the proceedings. So it's just a, harbinger of, I think, a very challenging set of scenarios that are going to be unfolding for Judge Merchan, many of which we can't predict now, but we know they'll be happening. All right. Also, just to, cap a few hours of pretty chaotic proceedings, in just a jury selection, there's a juror that the DA found has more information that he might have disclosed, and they think he may have lied, so he could still be kicked off. That would all be if it were in the middle of the trial, you couldn't pick a new one. You'd have to get an alternate. But if he lied, it would be justification for kicking him off. Anyway, he's been ordered to come in and answer questions, and he hasn't appeared yet. So that looks to be like a messy situation, and it seems to me that this guy is not likely to be serving. Indeed, it might be an arrest warrant that takes him, that brings him into court. You have, let's see, a couple lawyers are on the jury, and people have said, maybe that helps both sides because it's complicated charges, etc. And I just wanted to use it to make the point. Almost without exception, every juror is going to be better for one side or another. In a perfect world where you had perfect information and, as Donald Trump seems to think, infinite number of challenges, peremptory challenges, that is, for anything at all, some side would be bouncing basically. But what happens in a jury is there's a lot of people in the broad middle, and you only have 10 collateral challenges, 2 more for the alternates, and so they're acceptable to both. But it doesn't mean this idea that it's good to have different. The same person could be good for both sides. It's just not. The game theory of jury selection, which is fascinating, doesn't support that. A couple other things along these lines. We've had, to the amusement of the press corps, a guy who is being called a unicorn. He's got a flip phone and only reads the New York Post. I think maybe one other thing, and doesn't listen to any podcasts. Everybody loved that. Okay, funny. But this is a guy who the prosecution doesn't want, and Trump does want. This is a guy who's a potential maverick, doesn't listen to all the stuff about Trump, and could be, if you're looking for a holdout, could be a guy who just says okay and goes along. But those few things we know, I think, are indications of someone who is the precious juror that Trump is looking for, which is the holdout juror who won't be persuaded. He's a guy who has a flip phone, so he certainly knows how to buck a crowd, and maybe power to him in his life, but the DA is not going to want that guy. I just wanted to give an example of jury selection. And one other, we've talked about peremptory challenges, where you can do it, you can challenge someone just because. And, you just, a little thing you just don't like. So I just saw one juror reported enthusiasm for yoga. Think about it for a second. That's going to be someone who Trump doesn't want, right? It's just, of course, it could be a MAGA yoga enthusiast, but more likely than not, you hear that, and you pushes you a little in the direction of liberal, anti-Trump, etc. Now, you could never go to the court and say, I challenge for cause this woman does yoga. And that's why you have peremptory challenges. You have to play your hunches. And, as the selection process goes forward, you have those cards become played out, and you have to really make some hard choices. All right. In general, we are on this whole next panel of 96 people. As before, about half of them, the judge just let go because they thought they couldn't be fair. Normally, that would occasion individual conversations about, well, are you sure or not? But there's a huge panel here of different prospective jurors, and the judge just wants to cut to the chase and not have jury selection take 2 weeks. So he's letting them all go. The other big news to talk about in this one, chaotic morning, is the DA says that Trump violated the gag order 7 more times, including one comment that he retweeted from Fox News that basically is an assault on jurors. It suggests that there's stealth libs trying to get in the jury, in order to convict Trump. No basis. But generally an attack on jurors. That's going to be the sort of thing that Merchan may have to expand the gag order for to keep that from happening. So that's just a couple hours in New York versus Trump. But I wanted to mention in particular the jury problems, because it just, we may look back in a few weeks and see this as the first kind of big bump in the road on what turns out to be a crazy, bumpy, played out road, or we may see it as a bump that then settled down under the guiding hand of Judge Merchan. But man, it is going to be full of challenges and potential chaos. And that's exactly how Trump wants it to be. So Merchan more than has his hands full. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.